Welcome, dear traveler through time. Tonight, we journey to ancient Rome, to walk alongside one of history's most extraordinary figures, a man who changed the course of civilization, a man whose very name became synonymous with power itself. Close your eyes now and let your breathing slow. Feel the weight of the day dissolving. Tonight, you need not think or plan or worry. Tonight, you simply listen and drift into peaceful rest. We are going to meet Gaius Julius Caesar, born into the chaos of the late Roman Republic in the year 100 before Christ. This is a story of ambition and courage, of conquest and betrayal, of a life lived at the very pinnacle of human achievement. But do not concern yourself with remembering every detail. Let the story wash over you like gentle waves. Let it carry you deeper and deeper into rest. Take a deep breath now. Let it out slowly. With each breath, you sink a little further into comfort, into warmth, into peace. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to accomplish. Simply rest here, in this moment, as we travel together to a world 2,000 years gone. Rome, in the year 100 BC, was not yet an empire. It was a republic, governed by senators and consuls, by ancient traditions and fierce competitions for power. The city sprawled across 7 hills beside the Tiber River, a place of marble temples and crowded markets, of wealthy patricians in their villas and common citizens in their tenements. It was a city of perhaps 500,000 souls, the largest in the Western world, and it was growing larger every year as Rome's legions conquered new territories, brought home new wealth, new slaves, new peoples, to be absorbed into the Roman way of life. But the Republic was troubled. The old ways were crumbling. Generals were becoming more powerful than the Senate. Politicians were murdering their rivals in the streets. The poor were growing poorer, while a few families accumulated unimaginable wealth. Civil war had erupted multiple times in recent memory. Rome was a city on the edge, teetering between order and chaos, between republic and something else. Something new, something that would one day be called empire. Into this turbulent world, on the 12th day of July in the year 100 BC, a boy was born. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar. He was born into an old and noble family, the Julii, who claimed descent from the goddess Venus herself, and from Iulus, the son of the Trojan hero Aeneas. It was an illustrious lineage, but by Caesar's time, the family had fallen on harder days. They were patricians, yes, members of Rome's ancient nobility, but they were not particularly wealthy or powerful. They lived respectably, but not lavishly. They had influence, but not dominance. The house where Caesar was born stood in the Subura, a crowded neighborhood at the base of the Esquiline Hill. It was not a slum, but neither was it the most fashionable district. The streets were narrow and noisy, filled with shops and taverns, with the constant traffic of Romans going about their daily business. From his earliest years, young Caesar would have heard the sounds of the city, the voices speaking Latin and Greek, the cartwheels on stone, the vendors calling their wares. He would have smelled the bread baking, the incense burning in household shrines, the less pleasant odors of a city without modern sanitation. His father, also named Gaius Julius Caesar, was a senator, but not a particularly distinguished one. His mother, Aurelia, came from a well-connected family and was known for her intelligence and strong character. She would be a major influence on her son's life, instilling in him a sense of duty ambition, and pride in the Julian name. In a culture that often relegated women to the domestic sphere, Aurelia was a formidable presence, managing the household, overseeing her son's education, and navigating the complex social and political networks of Roman aristocracy. Young Caesar was a clever child, quick to learn, eager to please, but also willful and ambitious, even in his earliest years. He showed an aptitude for languages, mastering not just Latin, but also Greek, the language of culture and philosophy in the ancient world. He studied rhetoric, the art of persuasive speaking, which was essential for any Roman who wished to succeed in public life. He read the great Greek poets, Homer and Hesiod, and the philosophers, Plato and Aristotle. He learned mathematics and military history. He practiced physical exercises to strengthen his body, for a Roman nobleman was expected to be both intellectually sharp and physically capable. But childhood in Rome, even for the privileged, was not without its dangers. The city was violent and unpredictable. Political disputes were settled with swords as often as with words. When Caesar was just a boy, Rome was convulsed by the social war, a brutal conflict between Rome and its Italian allies, who demanded citizenship and equal rights. Then came the civil war between Marius and Sulla, two powerful generals whose rivalry tore the Republic apart. Caesar's family was connected to Marius through marriage, and when Sulla emerged victorious, anyone associated with Marius was in mortal danger. Caesar was only 16 years old when Sulla became dictator of Rome. Sulla published lists of his enemies, the famous proscription lists, and anyone whose name appeared on them could be killed on sight, their property confiscated, their family disgraced. Thousands died in the purges that followed. Caesar's name did not appear on the lists, but he was not safe. Sulla ordered him to divorce his wife, Cornelia, who was Marius's daughter. Caesar refused. It was an act of remarkable courage, or perhaps recklessness, for a young man to defy the most powerful man in Rome. Sulla's friends urged him to kill Caesar, but others interceded, pointing out that Caesar was young, that he posed no real threat. Sulla reluctantly agreed to spare him, but supposedly said, "Very well, have it your way. But I want you to know that the man you want me to spare will one day prove the ruin of the party which you and I have defended so long. In this Caesar, there are many Mariuses." It was a prophetic statement. Sulla saw in the young man something dangerous, something that could not be controlled or contained. And so Caesar was spared. But he thought it wise to leave Rome for a while. He joined the army and left for the east, to Asia Minor, far from Sulla's reach. Let us follow young Caesar as he boards a ship in the port of Ostia, Rome's harbor at the mouth of the Tiber. The ship is a merchant vessel, its hold filled with amphorae of wine and olive oil, bales of wool, and other goods bound for the eastern provinces. Caesar stands at the rail as the ship pulls away from the dock, watching the Italian coast recede into the distance. He is leaving Rome for the first time in his life, sailing toward an uncertain future. The journey takes weeks. The Mediterranean in winter can be treacherous, with sudden storms that send waves crashing over the deck. But Caesar's voyage is relatively calm. The ship makes its way east, stopping at various ports, at Greek islands and coastal cities, each with its own character, its own history. Caesar sees the ruins of ancient civilizations, temples to gods he knows only from books, landscapes that have witnessed events from mythology and legend. He arrives, finally in Asia Minor, in the province of Asia, where he joins the staff of the governor, Marcus Thermus. For the first time, Caesar experiences military life. He learns to wear armor, to march in formation, to sleep in a tent, to eat soldiers' rations. He learns the discipline of the legion, the Roman military machine that has conquered half the known world, and he discovers that he is good at it. He is brave in battle, quick thinking in crisis, able to inspire loyalty in the men under his command. His first major action comes at the siege of Mytilene, a city on the island of Lesbos that has rebelled against Roman rule. The siege is long and difficult. The city is well fortified and stubbornly defended, but Caesar distinguishes himself in the fighting. In one assault, he saves the life of a fellow soldier, earning the civic crown, the Corona Civica, one of Rome's highest military honors. It is awarded for saving a Roman citizen's life in battle. Caesar wears it with pride. It grants him certain privileges, including the right to wear the crown at public events, and the honor of having everyone stand when he enters the theater. After the siege, Caesar serves on the staff of another governor in Cilicia, in what is now southern Turkey. The work is less glamorous than combat, mostly administrative, dealing with local disputes, collecting taxes, managing supplies, but it gives Caesar insight into how the empire works, how provinces are governed, how power flows from Rome to the furthest reaches of its territories. He learns languages, meets people from different cultures, begins to develop the cosmopolitan worldview that will characterize his later career. News arrives that Sulla has died, the dictator is dead, and Rome is once again in flux. Caesar decides to return home. He is now about 25 years old, a decorated veteran, ready to begin his political career. He makes his way back across the Mediterranean, but the journey home will prove more eventful than his journey east. His ship is captured by pirates. Piracy is a serious problem in the ancient Mediterranean. The seas are patrolled, yes, but Roman naval power is not what it once was, and bold pirates operate with relative impunity, capturing ships, ransoming passengers, and occasionally selling captives into slavery. Caesar finds himself a prisoner, held on a small island somewhere in the Aegean Sea, while his captors negotiate a ransom with his family. The pirates demand 20 talents of silver, a substantial sum, but not an enormous one for a man of Caesar's rank. Caesar is reportedly insulted. He tells the pirates they have undervalued him. He insists that they raise the ransom to 50 talents. The pirates, bemused by this strange captive who acts more like their guest than their prisoner, agree. For 38 days, Caesar remains with the pirates, while his companions travel to raise the ransom. And during those 38 days, he behaves in the most extraordinary way. He treats the pirates not as his captors, but as his audience. He writes poetry and speeches and insists on reciting them to the pirates. When they fail to appreciate his work, he calls them illiterate barbarians to their faces. He joins in their exercises and games. He orders them to be quiet when he wants to sleep. He behaves with such confidence, such arrogance, such utter self-assurance that the pirates do not know what to make of him. And all the while, he tells them, laughing, that once he is free, he will return and have them all crucified. The pirates think it is a joke. It is not. The ransom arrives, 50 talents of silver. Caesar is released. He thanks the pirates courteously and departs. And then he does exactly what he promised. He travels to Miletus, raises a fleet of ships, returns to the island where the pirates are still celebrating their successful ransom, captures them all, and recovers his money. He takes the pirates to Pergamon, where the Roman governor has authority to execute them, but the governor wavers, perhaps thinking to sell the pirates as slaves and pocket the profit. Caesar does not wait for official permission. He has the pirates crucified, just as he promised. However, because they had treated him well during his captivity, he shows them a measure of mercy. He has their throats cut before the crucifixion, so they die more quickly and with less suffering. It is a revealing story. It shows us several things about the young Caesar: his confidence bordering on arrogance, his ability to dominate any situation through sheer force of personality, his ruthlessness when he believes he has been wronged, and his capacity for mercy, twisted though it might seem, even toward his enemies. These traits will define his entire career. Caesar returns to Rome a changed man. He has seen the world beyond Italy. He has proven himself in combat. He has demonstrated his courage and resourcefulness. He is ready to climb the cursus honorum, the course of honors, the sequence of elected offices that ambitious Romans must hold to reach the pinnacle of power. He is ready to become a politician. The Forum Romanum, the heart of Roman public life, is a rectangle of open space surrounded by temples, basilicas, and government buildings. It is here that politics happens, where citizens gather to hear speeches, where elections are held, where trials take place. The air is always full of noise, of voices raised in argument or persuasion, of the shuffling feet of crowds, of the cries of vendors selling snacks and drinks to the spectators. The ground is paved with stone worn smooth by centuries of feet. At one end rises the Capitoline Hill with the great temple of Jupiter. At the other, the Palatine Hill where the wealthy have their homes. The Forum is the stage, and every ambitious Roman wants to perform upon it. Caesar begins his career as many young nobles do, by prosecuting older politicians for corruption. The Roman legal system allows private citizens to bring criminal charges, and doing so successfully is a good way to make a name for oneself. Caesar takes on powerful men, delivering speeches that showcase his rhetorical skills, his wit, his ability to marshal evidence and sway a jury. He does not always win, but he impresses people. He becomes known as a formidable speaker, a man to watch. But speaking is not enough. In Rome, you need money to succeed in politics. Campaigns are expensive. You must throw games and festivals to win popular support. You must bribe voters, support clients, maintain a luxurious lifestyle to demonstrate your status. Caesar comes from a noble family, yes, but they are not wealthy. He needs to find patrons, rich men who will support his career in exchange for his political loyalty. He also needs to marry well. His first wife, Cornelia, has died, leaving him with a young daughter, Julia. Caesar marries again, this time to Pompeia, a granddaughter of Sulla. It is a political match, designed to connect him to powerful families. She is young, beautiful, and well-connected. The marriage will not last, but for now, it serves its purpose. Caesar is elected to his first office, quaestor, a junior magistrate responsible for financial administration. The position is not particularly glamorous, but it is the first rung on the ladder. As quaestor, Caesar is assigned to serve in Hispania Ulteria, further Spain, one of Rome's western provinces. He travels across the Mediterranean once more, this time to the Iberian Peninsula, to cities that cling to the coast, and to rough towns in the interior where Roman authority is still being established. There's a famous story from this period. Caesar is visiting a town and sees a statue of Alexander the Great. Alexander, of course, was the Macedonian king who conquered the known world by the age of 32. Creating an empire that stretched from Greece to India. Caesar is now 30 years old and has accomplished relatively little. Looking at Alexander's statue, he reportedly weeps. His companions ask, why? "Do you not think," he says, "it is a matter for sorrow that while Alexander, at my age, was already king of so many peoples, I have as yet achieved no brilliant success. It is the ambition speaking, the driving force that will propel him for the rest of his life. He is not content to be merely successful. He wants to be the greatest. He wants his name to echo through the ages." He looks at Alexander and sees not inspiration, but a challenge. He must do more. Achieve more, conquer more. He returns to Rome and continues his political ascent. He is elected aedile, an office responsible for public games and buildings. This is where a politician can really make an impression. Caesar throws lavish games, gladiatorial contests in the arena, theatrical performances, public banquets. He spares no expense, going deeply into debt to finance spectacles that will win him popular support. The Roman people love games and entertainments. A politician who provides them generously is remembered fondly. Caesar also begins to align himself with the populares, the political faction that claims to represent the interests of the common people against the wealthy aristocrats of the optimates faction. Roman politics is not like modern politics with organized parties and clear platforms. It is more fluid, more personal, based on networks of patronage and family alliances. But there is a genuine divide between those who think the Senate should have ultimate authority and those who think the people, through their tribunes and assemblies, should have more power. Caesar positions himself with the populares, partly out of genuine conviction, partly out of political calculation. He is elected Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of Rome, in a shocking upset. The position is supposed to go to senior statesmen, men at the end of their careers. Caesar campaigns aggressively and wins. He moves into the official residence that comes with the position, the Domus Publica in the Forum. He is now one of the most prominent men in Rome, though still young by Roman standards, still in his 30s. But he is also drowning in debt. He has spent vast sums on his campaigns and his games. He owes money to creditors throughout Rome. His financial situation is precarious. He needs a major command, a governorship of a wealthy province where he can enrich himself, pay off his debts, and build the resources he will need for even higher office. He is elected praetor, the second highest magistracy, and afterward, as is customary, he is assigned to govern a province. He receives Hispania Ulteria again, further Spain. It is not the wealthiest province, but it is a place where a capable governor can win military glory and make money. Caesar needs both desperately. His creditors try to prevent him from leaving. They demand he pay his debts before departing. But Caesar has made a powerful friend, Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome. Crassus agrees to stand surety for Caesar's debts, guaranteeing payment. Why would Crassus do this? Because he sees in Caesar a valuable political ally. Crassus has money, but lacks popularity. Caesar has charisma and popular support, but lacks money. Together, they can help each other. Caesar departs for Spain. He will spend a year there, and it will transform his career. In Spain, he will prove that he is not just a politician, but a general. He will lead Roman legions in combat, subdue rebellious tribes, extend Roman authority deeper into the Iberian interior. He will enrich himself with the spoils of conquest, and he will return to Rome a hero, ready to claim the highest office the Republic has to offer, the consulship. Let us pause for a moment in our story. Let your breathing deepen. Feel the comfort of your resting place. You are safe, warm, at peace. The story continues, but you need not strain to follow every detail. Simply let it flow over you, like water over smooth stones, wearing away the roughness of the day, leaving only smooth tranquility. Caesar returns from Spain in the year 60 BC. He is 40 years old, at the height of his powers, ready to run for consul. The consulship is the pinnacle of the cursus honorum, the highest elected office in Rome. 2 consuls are elected each year, serving together for a 1-year term. They command the armies, preside over the Senate, represent Rome to foreign powers. To be consul is to be, for 1 year, one of the 2 most powerful men in the Republic. But Caesar faces a problem. He has been awarded a triumph, the great military parade through Rome that celebrates a victorious general. It is a tremendous honor. The general, dressed in the regalia of Jupiter, rides in a golden chariot through the streets, while his soldiers march behind and captives walk in chains before him. The Senate must grant permission for a triumph, and they have granted Caesar one for his victories in Spain. But to celebrate his triumph, Caesar must remain outside the city until the day of the celebration. Meanwhile, to run for consul, he must enter the city to register his candidacy before the deadline. He cannot do both. If he enters the city to run for consul, he forfeits his triumph. If he waits outside for his triumph, he misses the deadline to run for consul. The Senate, dominated by his enemies, refuses to make an exception. They want to prevent him from becoming consul. They see him as dangerous, too popular, too ambitious. Caesar makes his choice. He gives up the triumph and enters the city to run for consul. It is a telling decision. He values power more than glory. The triumph would be a single day of celebration, magnificent but fleeting. The consulship would give him real power for an entire year and beyond. He chooses substance over show. But running for consul requires enormous resources. Caesar needs money, and he needs political support. He turns to Crassus again, the man whose wealth seems bottomless. Crassus agrees to finance Caesar's campaign, but Caesar also needs military prestige, the backing of Rome's legions. And for that he turns to the greatest general of the age, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, known to history as Pompey the Great. Pompey is everything Caesar is not yet but aspires to become. He is a successful general who has won victories across the Mediterranean. He has been granted 2 triumphs already. He is fabulously wealthy from his conquests. He is respected, feared, and admired. But Pompey has a problem. He has returned from the east with his armies, expecting the Senate to reward his veterans with land, and to ratify the political arrangements he made in the eastern provinces. The Senate, suspicious of his power, has refused. Pompey, for all his military might, is stymied by political opposition. Caesar sees an opportunity. He proposes an alliance. He, Pompey, and Crassus will work together to achieve their mutual goals. Caesar will be elected consul, As consul, he will push through legislation, giving Pompey's veterans their land, and ratifying his eastern settlements. He will also pass laws favorable to Crassus's business interests. In return, Pompey and Crassus will support Caesar's political ambitions. It is a secret agreement, not written down, not publicly acknowledged, but binding nonetheless. This alliance, later known as the First Triumvirate, though the participants never called it that, will dominate Roman politics for the next decade. It is, in effect, a conspiracy to circumvent the normal checks and balances of the Republic. The Senate is supposed to deliberate and decide, but with three powerful men working together in secret, opposing their combined will becomes nearly impossible. Caesar is elected consul for the year 59 BC. His colleague is Marcus Calpurnius Bibulus, a staunch conservative who opposes everything Caesar wants to do. It does not matter. Caesar dominates the consulship so completely that Romans will joke that this is the year of the consulship of Julius and Caesar, rather than Caesar and Bibulus. When Bibulus tries to obstruct Caesar's legislation, Caesar simply ignores him. When Bibulus retreats to his house and declares that he is watching the heavens for bad omens, a religious tactic meant to halt all public business, Caesar pushes forward anyway. Caesar passes his legislation. Pompey's veterans receive their land. Crassus's allies receive lucrative contracts, and Caesar ensures his own future. He arranges to be appointed governor of Gaul, not just for the customary one-year term, but for 5 years. An unprecedented length of time. Gaul is not one province, but several, stretching from southern France up to the Rhine River, from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic. It is a vast territory, partly pacified, partly still wild, home to Celtic tribes who are fierce warriors, and who have only recently come under Roman domination. More importantly, Gaul is a place where a governor can wage war, win victories, enrich himself with plunder, and build an army loyal to him personally. This is what Caesar needs. He needs military glory to match Pompey's. He needs wealth to rival Crassus's. And he needs legions that will follow him, not the Senate. In Gaul, he can build all of this. Before he leaves for Gaul, Caesar takes one more step to cement his alliance with Pompey. He gives Pompey his daughter Julia in marriage. Julia is young, beautiful, intelligent, and she is Caesar's only legitimate child. Pompey is much older, a widower, but he and Julia will develop a genuine affection for each other. The marriage binds the two men together, not just politically, but personally. And so, in 58 BC, Caesar departs Rome for Gaul. He is 42 years old. He has been consul. He has wealth and power and connections. But he is not yet great. He has not yet achieved the immortality he craves. That will come in Gaul over the next 8 years. Caesar will fight a series of campaigns that will be remembered as some of the most brilliant military achievements in history. He will conquer all of Gaul, bringing millions of people under Roman rule. He will cross the Rhine into Germania, a feat no Roman has accomplished before. He will invade Britain, twice, expanding Roman power to the very edge of the known world. But all of that lies ahead. For now, let us simply note that Caesar is leaving Rome, traveling north into lands that are still partly mysterious to Romans, leading legions into battles that have not yet been fought, beginning the great adventure that will transform him from a successful politician into one of history's legendary conquerors. Breathe deeply now. Let the story carry you gently forward. You need not remember every battle. every name. Simply drift along with Caesar as he journeys into Gaul, as he leads his legions through forests and across rivers, as he faces dangers and overcomes them. Let the rhythm of the story lull you into deeper rest. Gaul, in 58 BC, is a patchwork of tribes and territories. Some areas, particularly in the south, have been under Roman influence for decades. They are relatively peaceful, relatively civilized by Roman standards. But further north and west, the Gallic tribes remain independent, powerful, and often hostile to Rome. These are the Gauls, whom the Romans both fear and admire. Warriors who fight with desperate courage, who paint their faces and bodies for battle, who fight naked sometimes to show their contempt for death. Caesar arrives in Gaul with 4 legions under his command, perhaps 20,000 men. A Roman legion is a marvel of military organization. It is divided into centuries, cohorts, maniples, each unit with its specific role and function. The legionaries are professional soldiers, well-trained, well-equipped, and disciplined. They carry the pilum, the Roman javelin, and the gladius, the short sword designed for close combat. They wear armor of overlapping metal plates and carry large rectangular shields. They can march 20 miles in a day, build a fortified camp every night, and fight pitched battles with precision and coordination. Caesar himself is learning to be a general. He has fought before, in Spain and earlier in his career. But Gaul will be his testing ground, the place where he will develop the skills and the reputation that will make him famous. He is a hands-on commander. He rides among his troops, learns their names, shares their hardships. He is brave in battle, often leading from the front, risking his own life to inspire his men. But he is also calculating, able to assess a situation quickly, to see opportunities and exploit them, to turn near defeat into victory through clever tactics and sheer force of will. His first campaign begins almost immediately. A Gallic tribe, the Helvetii, are migrating across Roman territory, moving from their homeland in what is now Switzerland toward what is now France. They number perhaps 300,000 men, women and children, a massive migration. Caesar intercepts them, defeats their warriors in battle, and forces the survivors to return to their homeland. It is a decisive victory and establishes Caesar's authority. But the Helvetii are only the beginning. Word arrives that a Germanic king named Ariovistus has crossed the Rhine with his warriors and is terrorizing the Gallic tribes. The Gauls appeal to Caesar for help. Caesar marches north, meets Ariovistus in battle and defeats him, driving the Germans back across the Rhine. It is another victory, another demonstration of Roman power and Caesar's leadership. The campaigns continue year after year. Caesar fights the Belgae, fierce tribes in the north. He campaigns against tribes along the Atlantic coast. He builds a bridge across the Rhine in just 10 days, a feat of engineering that astounds everyone. He leads his legions across the bridge into Germania, not to conquer, but to demonstrate that Rome can go anywhere, that no river is a barrier, that no people are beyond Roman reach. He stays only a few weeks and then withdraws, destroying the bridge behind him. In 55 BC, he invades Britain. It is a daring move. Britain is at the edge of the known world, shrouded in mystery and legend. The Romans know almost nothing about it, except that it exists, and that it trades tin and other metals with the continent. Caesar builds a fleet, crosses the Channel, lands on the white cliffs of Dover, and fights the native Britons. The campaign is not a great success. The weather is terrible, his ships are damaged. He penetrates only a short distance inland, but he has been to Britain. He has set foot on an island that most Romans believe might not even exist. It is a propaganda victory, even if not a military one. He returns to Britain the following year with a larger force. This time he penetrates further inland, crosses the Thames, defeats British tribes, and accepts their submission. He does not try to occupy Britain, not yet. But he has demonstrated that Rome can reach even there, that there are no limits to Roman power, that Caesar himself is capable of achieving what no one else has done. But it is not all glory and triumph. There are setbacks and disasters. In 54 BC, one of his legions is ambushed and wiped out by the Eburones under their chief Ambiorix. 15 cohorts, perhaps 7,000 men, are killed. It is a terrible loss, and Caesar's enemies in Rome seize on it, claiming that his conquest of Gaul is failing, that he has overreached. Caesar responds with characteristic determination. He rebuilds his forces, raises new legions, and hunts down the Eburones, burning their villages, scattering their people. He makes an example of them, so that no other tribe will dare to challenge Rome again. It is brutal, ruthless, and effective. The greatest challenge comes in 52 BC, when most of Gaul rises in a coordinated rebellion, led by a young Gallic chieftain named Vercingetorix. Vercingetorix is brilliant, charismatic, and determined to drive the Romans out of Gaul forever. He unites the tribes, something that has never been done before. He adopts a scorched earth strategy, destroying food and supplies to starve Caesar's legions. He avoids pitched battles, using hit-and-run tactics, ambushes, and sieges. Caesar finds himself in dire straits. His legions are running low on supplies. The Gauls are everywhere, harassing his columns, attacking his camps. Vercingetorix seems always one step ahead. For a time, it looks as though Caesar might fail, that he might lose Gaul entirely, that his career might end in disaster. But Caesar is nothing if not resilient. He pursues Vercingetorix relentlessly. The Gallic leader withdraws into the fortress of Alesia, a stronghold on a hilltop that seems impregnable. Caesar lays siege to it, but then he learns that a massive Gallic relief army is approaching, perhaps 250,000 warriors coming to lift the siege and destroy the Romans. Caesar finds himself trapped between the fortress and the approaching army. He makes a bold decision. He builds not one, but 2 rings of fortifications, one facing inward toward Alesia, one facing outward toward the relief army. He will hold off both forces simultaneously, fighting a siege in both directions. It is an audacious, almost insane strategy. His legions work day and night to build the walls, the ditches, the traps. They dig pits filled with sharpened stakes. They scatter iron caltrops on the ground to injure attackers. They build towers and redoubts. The labor is backbreaking, but the legionaries know their survival depends on it. The Gallic relief army arrives. The battle that follows is one of the most desperate of Caesar's career. The Gauls attack from outside while Vercingetorix and his men attack from inside. The Romans are assaulted from 2 directions at once. The fighting is savage, hand to hand, desperate. At one point, Caesar himself has to lead the reserve cohorts into the battle, his scarlet general's cloak identifying him to his men, rallying them at the critical moment. The Romans hold. The Gallic relief army is defeated and withdraws. Inside Alesia, Vercingetorix realizes the situation is hopeless. He surrenders to save his people from starvation. He rides out of the fortress in his finest armor, circles Caesar once in silent tribute, and then lays down his weapons. Caesar takes him prisoner. He will keep Vercingetorix in captivity for 6 years, until he can be displayed in Caesar's triumph in Rome, and then executed. The Battle of Alesia is the turning point. After this, Gallic resistance crumbles. Caesar spends another year mopping up the last pockets of rebellion, but the conquest is essentially complete. All of Gaul is now Roman. Millions of people have been brought under Rome's authority. Hundreds of thousands have died. Countless others have been sold into slavery. Cities have been burned, tribes scattered, ancient ways of life destroyed. But from Rome's perspective, it is a glorious achievement. Caesar has added a territory larger than Italy itself to the Roman domain. He has made himself fabulously wealthy from the plunder. He has created a battle-hardened army of veterans who are loyal to him personally, and he has made his name immortal. Soldiers and civilians alike speak of him with awe. He is Caesar the Conqueror, Caesar the Invincible. He writes an account of his campaigns, the Commentari de Bello Gallico, the commentaries on the Gallic War. It is written in the third person, as though he is an objective observer of events rather than the main actor. It is clear, concise, compelling. It will be read for centuries, taught to students learning Latin, admired for its style and its propaganda brilliance. Through this work, Caesar controls the narrative of his own achievements, ensuring that history will remember him as he wishes to be remembered. But even as Caesar is winning glory in Gaul, the political situation in Rome is deteriorating. The triumvirate is fracturing. Crassus, seeking military glory to match Pompey and Caesar, has led an army east to fight the Parthians. He has been defeated and killed at the Battle of Carrhae. His head sent as a trophy to the Parthian king. Julia, Caesar's daughter and Pompey's wife, the personal bond between the two men, has died in childbirth. The ties that held the alliance together are breaking. Pompey is drawing closer to the Senate, to Caesar's enemies. They flatter him, tell him he is the only man who can save the Republic from Caesar's ambition. Slowly, reluctantly perhaps, Pompey begins to believe them. The Senate passes laws demanding that Caesar give up his command and return to Rome without his legions. Caesar knows what this means. Without his army, he will be vulnerable to prosecution by his enemies. They will destroy him politically, might even kill him. Caesar sends messages, tries to negotiate. He offers compromises. He will give up his army if Pompey will do the same. The Senate refuses. They want Caesar disarmed and powerless. They are preparing to make an enemy of the greatest general Rome has ever known. And so, in January of 49 BC, Caesar makes his decision. He will not surrender his command. He will not leave his legions. If the Senate wants war, he will give them war. He marches south toward Italy with 1 legion, toward a small river that marks the boundary between his province and Italy proper. The river is called the Rubicon. Let your mind drift now to that moment, that fateful evening when Caesar stood at the banks of the Rubicon. Feel the cool night air. Hear the rush of water over stone. This is one of history's great turning points, the moment when a choice is made that will echo through the ages. The Rubicon is a small river, barely worthy of the name. In later centuries, scholars will argue about where exactly it was, for it is not a grand, impressive waterway, but an ordinary stream, shallow enough to wade across in places. But in Roman law, it is significant. It marks the boundary of Italy. A Roman general may command legions in his province, but he must not bring armed men into Italy itself without Senate permission. To cross the Rubicon with his legion is to commit an act of war against the Republic. Caesar pauses at the river bank. His officers are with him, waiting for his decision. Behind them, the 13th Legion. The men who have followed him through Gaul waits in the gathering dusk. Caesar knows what crossing means. It means civil war. It means the end of the old republic. It means he will be branded a traitor, an outlaw, unless he wins. But turning back means surrender, means disgrace, perhaps means death. His enemies in Rome have made it clear they will destroy him if he gives them the chance. He has no illusions about their mercy. The ancient sources tell us that Caesar hesitated, that he spoke to his officers about the magnitude of what they were about to do. He quoted a Greek phrase, later translated into Latin, "Iacta alea est," the die is cast. It is a gambler's phrase, referring to throwing dice. Once the dice leave your hand, you cannot call them back. The outcome is in the hands of fate. And then he gives the order. The legion marches across the river. It is done. There is no going back now. Word spreads like wildfire. Caesar has crossed the Rubicon. Caesar is marching on Rome. Panic grips the city. Senators flee. Pompey, who has been appointed by the Senate to defend Italy, realizes he is unprepared. He has legions, yes, but they are scattered, not ready for immediate combat. Caesar's veterans, hardened by years of campaigning in Gaul, are battle-ready and fiercely loyal to their commander. Caesar moves quickly. He takes town after town without resistance. The people do not oppose him. Many welcome him. He makes it clear he is not coming as a tyrant, but as a defender of the people's rights against a corrupt Senate. He treats captured enemies with clemency, releasing them unharmed, even giving them money to go home. This clemency becomes his trademark. Where other commanders would execute prisoners, Caesar pardons them. It wins him support and makes his enemies look cruel by comparison. Pompey withdraws from Italy entirely, taking the Senate with him. They cross to Greece, planning to regroup, to gather their forces, to return and defeat Caesar when they are ready. Caesar lets them go. For now, he has more pressing concerns. He must secure his position in Italy and in the western provinces. He goes to Rome briefly, entering the city for the first time in years. He does not hold a triumph, does not indulge in celebrations. There is too much work to do. He secures the treasury, appoints magistrates loyal to him, and then leaves again. He marches to Spain, where Pompey has legions commanded by his lieutenants. Caesar defeats them in a swift campaign, demonstrating the military genius that made him famous in Gaul. He returns to Italy and prepares to face Pompey. The showdown will come in Greece, where Pompey has assembled a massive army, drawing on the resources of the eastern provinces. The two greatest generals of Rome will meet in battle, and the fate of the Republic will be decided. Let us pause here at the threshold of that confrontation. Let your breathing slow. Let your body sink deeper into rest. The story continues, but you need not hold on to every detail. Simply drift, gently, peacefully, as Caesar prepares for the battle that will determine everything. The year is 48 BC. Caesar has crossed the Rubicon, secured Italy, defeated Pompey's forces in Spain. Now, he must confront Pompey himself. The two men who once were allies whose families were joined by marriage, who together dominated Roman politics, are now mortal enemies. Only one can survive. Only one can rule Rome. Caesar crosses the Adriatic Sea with his legions, landing in Greece where Pompey has assembled his army. Pompey has the advantage of numbers. He has 11 legions to Caesar's 8, perhaps 50,000 men to Caesar's 30,000. He also has the resources of the eastern provinces, abundant supplies, and the support of most of the Senate. On paper, he should win. But Caesar has something Pompey lacks. His soldiers are veterans of Gaul, men who have followed him through 8 years of brutal campaigning, who trust him completely, who will follow him anywhere. They are leaner, harder, more experienced than Pompey's troops, many of whom are newly recruited or have not seen serious combat in years. The two armies maneuver around Greece for months, neither commander willing to commit to a decisive battle. There are skirmishes, sieges, strategic retreats. At one point, Caesar's forces are trapped and nearly starved at Dyrrhachium. Pompey has the opportunity to crush him, but he hesitates, and Caesar escapes. Finally, in August of 48 BC, the armies meet at Pharsalus in central Greece. It is a hot summer day. The plain is dusty, the air shimmering with heat. The two forces line up facing each other. Pompey's cavalry, his strongest unit, is positioned on his left flank. Caesar sees this and makes a brilliant tactical adjustment. He takes some of his best cohorts and positions them as a fourth line, hidden behind his right flank, with specific instructions to target the cavalry. The battle begins. Pompey's cavalry charges, confident in their numbers and skill, but Caesar's hidden fourth line emerges and attacks them with javelins aimed at the riders' faces. The cavalrymen, unused to such tactics, panic. They break and flee. With the cavalry gone, Caesar's hidden cohorts wheel around and attack Pompey's main force from behind. It is over quickly. Pompey's army, caught in a pincer, collapses. 15,000 of his men lie dead on the field. Another 20,000 surrender. Pompey himself flees the battlefield in disgrace, abandoning his army, his camp, everything. Caesar has won the most important battle of his life. He pursues Pompey, following him to Egypt. But when he arrives in Alexandria, he learns that Pompey is already dead. The young pharaoh Ptolemy, thinking to win Caesar's favor, has had Pompey murdered and beheaded. Ptolemy's advisors present the head to Caesar as a gift. Caesar is reportedly horrified. Pompey was his enemy, yes, but he was also a great Roman, a consul, a general, his daughter's husband. He deserved better than assassination by foreign hands. Caesar weeps at the sight of Pompey's head and orders that his body be given a proper Roman funeral. It is a genuine emotion, or perhaps a calculated display of magnanimity. With Caesar, it is hard to tell where sincerity ends and political theater begins. Caesar remains in Egypt for several months. He becomes involved in a civil war between the young pharaoh Ptolemy and his sister, Cleopatra. Cleopatra is 21 years old, intelligent, charming, multilingual, and desperate to reclaim her throne. According to legend, she has herself smuggled into Caesar's presence rolled up in a carpet. Whether this story is true or embellished, we do not know. But we do know that she wins Caesar's support. Caesar defeats Ptolemy's forces in a brief but intense conflict. Ptolemy drowns in the Nile. Caesar places Cleopatra on the throne as Egypt's queen, and he begins an affair with her that will last for the rest of his life. They will have a son together, Caesarion, Little Caesar. though Caesar never formally acknowledges him. But Caesar cannot linger in Egypt. There are still enemies to defeat. Pompey's sons and lieutenants have rallied their forces in North Africa and Spain. The war is not over. Caesar returns to Rome briefly to be appointed dictator, a legal Roman office used in times of emergency. As dictator, he has absolute power, though the position is supposed to be temporary. He then campaigns in North Africa, defeating the remaining Pompeians at the Battle of Thapsus. Then he goes to Spain and fights one final, terrible battle at Munda against Pompey's sons. It is his hardest-fought victory, a close-run thing that could have gone either way. But once again, Caesar prevails. The civil war is over. Caesar is the undisputed master of Rome. He returns to the city in triumph, or rather, he celebrates 4 triumphs in succession, one for each of his major conquests: Gaul, Egypt, Pontus, and Africa. The celebrations last for days. The spoils are displayed, prisoners paraded in chains, Vercingetorix among them, the Gallic chieftain who held out for so long. After the triumph, Vercingetorix is executed, strangled in the traditional manner, as required by Roman custom. The triumphs are magnificent, overwhelming displays of wealth and power. Caesar distributes gifts to the soldiers and to the people. He holds games and banquets. He makes a show of his clemency, pardoning many of his former enemies, even appointing some of them to positions of authority. It is a masterful demonstration of political skill, showing that he is not a tyrant who rules by fear, but a benevolent leader who rewards loyalty and forgives opposition. But beneath the celebrations, something fundamental has changed in Rome. The Republic, which has existed for nearly 500 years, is dying. Caesar is dictator, not consul. He answers to no one. The Senate still meets, still debates, but everyone knows that real power lies with Caesar alone. He makes the decisions. He appoints the magistrates. He controls the legions. The Republic has become, in all but name, a monarchy. Let your mind wander now through the streets of Rome as Caesar remakes the city in his image. You need not remember every reform, every building project. Simply drift along, observing, as the greatest man in Rome exercises his power. Caesar is 54 years old, at the height of his abilities, the most powerful man in the Roman world. He could rest on his laurels, enjoy his wealth and status, live in luxury, but that is not who he is. He is driven to accomplish, to build, to leave a legacy that will last forever. And so he throws himself into governance with the same energy he brought to military campaigns. He undertakes a massive program of reforms. Some are practical, addressing real problems that have plagued Rome for generations. He reforms the calendar, creating the Julian calendar that, with minor modifications, is still used today. The Roman calendar had become hopelessly out of sync with the seasons because of the way leap years were calculated. Caesar brings in astronomers from Egypt and Greece to devise a better system. The new calendar has 365 days, with a leap year every 4 years. It is accurate, elegant, and it will outlast the Roman Empire itself. He tackles the problem of debt, which has caused misery and instability throughout Italy. He cancels some debts, restructures others, provides relief to those crushed by interest payments. It is not a total solution, and it angers creditors, but it helps stabilize the economy and wins him popular support. He reforms the grain dole, the system by which Rome distributes free grain to its poorest citizens. The dole had become bloated, with too many people receiving free grain, draining the treasury. Caesar conducts a census and reduces the number of recipients from 320,000 to 150,000. It is a politically risky move, but he justifies it by arguing that the savings will allow him to undertake other projects that will benefit everyone. And he does undertake projects, enormous building programs that employ thousands of workers and beautify the city. He begins work on a new forum, the Forum Iulium, dominated by a temple to Venus Genetrix, Venus the Mother, from whom the Julian family claims descent. He plans to drain the Pontine marshes, to redirect the Tiber River, to build new aqueducts and roads. Not all of these projects will be completed before his death, but the ambition is staggering. He settles his veterans on land throughout Italy and the provinces, creating new colonies, spreading Roman citizenship, and ensuring that his former soldiers have the prosperity he promised them. He increases the size of the Senate, appointing his supporters, including some Gauls and other non-Romans, which scandals the conservative patricians but reflect Caesar's vision of a more inclusive empire. He is generous to his friends and supporters, but also to former enemies. His clemency becomes famous. He pardons Marcus Brutus, who fought against him at Pharsalus. He pardons Gaius Cassius Longinus, another enemy. He brings them into his inner circle, trusts them with responsibilities. Some see this as magnanimity. Others see it as a dangerous naivety. Why trust men who fought to kill you? Why place power in the hands of those who hate what you represent? But Caesar believes in his own greatness, believes that he can win anyone over, that his vision is so compelling, his power so overwhelming, that no one would dare oppose him. He is wrong. Beneath the surface, resentment is growing. The senators, who once held real power, are now little more than ornaments. They debate and vote, but everyone knows the decisions have already been made. They are humiliated, reduced to functionaries in what is rapidly becoming a monarchy in all but name. And Caesar does not help matters with his behavior. He is often arrogant, sometimes dismissive. He sits while senators stand before him, a breach of protocol that offends their dignity. He accepts honors and titles that make him seem more than human, less than a citizen, something new and troubling. They whisper that he wants to be king. In Rome, kingship is the ultimate taboo. The Republic was founded on the rejection of monarchy. The last king, Tarquin the Proud, was expelled nearly 500 years ago, and Romans have hated the very idea of kingship ever since. The word rex, king, is almost obscene in Roman political culture, and yet Caesar seems to be positioning himself as something very much like a king. He is dictator perpetuo, dictator for life. He wears a purple toga and a laurel wreath. Statues of him are placed among the gods. His image appears on coins, something previously reserved for the divine. There are rumors that he will have himself declared king before he leaves for his planned campaign against Parthia. He wants to avenge Crassus's defeat, to conquer the east as he conquered the west. But to do so, some say, he needs the title of king, because an oracle has proclaimed that only a king can conquer Parthia. Whether Caesar truly wants to be king, we cannot know for certain. He publicly refuses the title when Mark Antony offers him a crown at a festival, but some believe this is theater, a way to test public reaction, a scripted scene meant to make his eventual acceptance of the title seem like he is giving in to popular demand. Whatever his true intentions, A group of senators decides that they cannot allow this to continue. They must act. They must save the Republic while there is still something to save. And to do that, they must kill Caesar. The conspiracy begins small. Just a few men meeting in secret, speaking in low voices about the unthinkable. Gaius Cassius Longinus is one of the first. He is a capable general, a loyal republican, and he hates Caesar with a passion. He has been pardoned by Caesar, but he has not forgiven him for the destruction of the Republic. He sees Caesar as a tyrant who must be removed. He recruits others. Decimus Brutus, one of Caesar's most trusted officers. Gaius Trebonius, Lucius Tillius Cimber, men who have benefited from Caesar's clemency, but who value the Republic more than their personal advancement. The conspiracy grows to include as many as 60 senators, though only a core group will actually wield the daggers. The key recruit is Marcus Junius Brutus. Brutus is young, idealistic, respected. He is also close to Caesar. Some even whisper that he might be Caesar's illegitimate son, born of Caesar's long-ago affair with Brutus's mother, Servilia. Whether this is true, no one knows. But Caesar has always treated Brutus with particular affection, has forgiven his opposition during the Civil War, has promoted him to high office. Brutus is torn. He loves Caesar personally, but he loves the Republic more. He is descended from Lucius Junius Brutus, the man who expelled the last king and founded the Republic. That heritage weighs on him. Can he stand by while Caesar destroys what his ancestor created? Cassius works on him relentlessly, appealing to his sense of duty, his family honor, his love of freedom. Finally, Brutus agrees to join the conspiracy. More than that, he becomes its symbolic leader. If Brutus, Caesar's friend, believes Caesar must die, then the cause must be just. The conspirators debate how and when to act. They settle on March 15th, the Ides of March, when the Senate is scheduled to meet in a portico near Pompey's theater. Caesar will be there, without his usual bodyguard of Spanish soldiers, whom he has dismissed, saying that a ruler who needs guards is not truly beloved. It is a statement of supreme confidence, or perhaps supreme arrogance. The conspirators see it as an opportunity. They plan carefully. They will surround Caesar under the pretext of presenting petitions. Tillius Cimber will approach first, asking for his brother's recall from exile. When Caesar refuses, Cimber will grab his toga, pulling it down to expose his neck. That will be the signal. The others will strike with daggers hidden beneath their togas. They will strike together, so that no single man bears all the guilt, so that they share equally in the deed and the responsibility. In the days leading up to the Ides, there are omens, or at least later sources will claim there were omens. Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, has nightmares of her husband bleeding in her arms. Soothsayers warn Caesar to beware the Ides of March. Sacrificial animals are found to have no hearts. A terrible omen. A fortune teller stops Caesar in the street and tells him danger awaits. Whether these stories are true or were invented later to add drama to the narrative, we cannot say. But we know that on the morning of March 15th, Calpurnia begs Caesar not to go to the Senate. She is frightened by her dreams, by the omens. Caesar is inclined to listen. He is not feeling well, and he has been troubled by epileptic seizures in recent months. Perhaps it would be wise to stay home, but Decimus Brutus, one of the conspirators, arrives at Caesar's house. He convinces Caesar that he must attend the Senate meeting. There are important matters to discuss. The senators are waiting. It would be insulting to send them away because of a woman's dreams. Caesar, reassured by his friend's words, agrees to go. He walks to the Senate, accompanied by friends and clients as usual. Along the way, he passes a soothsayer who had previously warned him. "The Ides of March have come," Caesar says, perhaps mockingly. "Aye, Caesar," the soothsayer replies, "but not gone." Caesar enters the portico where the Senate is meeting. It is a large, open space, surrounded by columns, with a statue of Pompey at one end. Perhaps it is fitting that Caesar will die in front of his old rival's statue, that Pompey will, in a sense, have the last laugh. The senators rise as Caesar enters. It is a show of respect, but also a way to surround him. Tullius Cimber approaches with his petition. Caesar dismisses it. Cimber persists, grabbing Caesar's toga, pulling it down. "This is violence," Caesar shouts. And then the daggers flash. Let us approach this moment with care, with reverence almost, for it is one of the most famous scenes in all of history. Feel the weight of it, but do not let it disturb your rest. Simply observe, as though from a great distance, as events unfold that cannot be changed, that were set in motion long ago. Casca strikes first, a blow to Caesar's shoulder. It is not a killing blow, perhaps because Casca is nervous, his hand shaking. Caesar spins around, grabbing Casca's arm, stabbing him with the stylus he uses for writing. "Villain Casca, what are you doing?" he shouts, but then the others close in. 23 men with daggers. They strike again and again. Caesar tries to defend himself, tries to break free, but there are too many of them. He is surrounded, hemmed in by the press of bodies, by the flashing blades. He is wounded in the face, the chest, the arms. Blood flows, soaking his toga, pooling on the marble floor. He sees Brutus among the attackers, Brutus whom he loved, whom he trusted. According to some accounts, he speaks his last words to Brutus. Kai su, teknon, Greek words meaning "you too, child," or in Latin, et tu, brute. Even you, Brutus. Whether he actually spoke these words we do not know. Ancient sources disagree. Some say he said nothing, that he simply pulled his toga over his head so that he would die with dignity, his face covered, his wounds hidden. Others say he fought to the last, trying to escape, to defend himself, until the weight of wounds finally brought him down. He collapses at the base of Pompey's statue. The conspirators step back, breathing hard, staring at what they have done. Caesar lies there, his body covered with wounds. 23 wounds, though only one, a stab to the chest, is fatal. He is 55 years old. He has been dictator for just over a year. He has changed the world, but he will not see what becomes of his changes. The other senators flee in panic, trampling each other, their haste to escape. The conspirators remain, holding their bloody daggers. Brutus tries to address the fleeing senators, to explain why they had to act, to justify the assassination as necessary for the Republic's survival. But no one listens. They are too frightened, too shocked. Mark Antony, Caesar's most loyal lieutenant, was supposed to attend the Senate meeting, but was detained outside by Trebonius, one of the conspirators. When he learns what has happened, he flees, fearing he will be next. But the conspirators have not planned beyond the assassination. They have killed Caesar, but they have no plan for what comes after. They thought that with Caesar dead, the Republic would somehow restore itself, that everyone would celebrate the tyrant's fall. They are wrong. The people of Rome are horrified. Caesar was popular with the common citizens. He had distributed money, held games, promised a better future. Now he is dead, murdered by senators, by aristocrats, by men who claim to represent the Republic, but who seem more interested in their own power. The people do not celebrate. They mourn. Caesar's body is carried to his home, where Calpurnia receives it, devastated. The body is prepared for funeral, according to Roman custom. It is washed, anointed with oils, dressed in the toga he wore when he was killed, still stained with blood. The funeral is held in the Forum. It is a public spectacle, as befits the greatest Roman of his age. Caesar's body is displayed on a couch in the Forum, visible to all. Mark Antony delivers the funeral oration. Speaking to a crowd of thousands, he praises Caesar's accomplishments, his victories, his generosity. He holds up Caesar's bloody toga, showing the crowd the rents made by the daggers, counting the wounds. He reads Caesar's will, which leaves money to every citizen of Rome and gives his gardens across the Tiber to the people as a public park. The crowd is moved. They begin to weep. Then their grief turns to anger. They demand justice. They want vengeance. Rioting breaks out. The crowd seizes furniture and wood from the Forum and builds an impromptu funeral pyre right there in the center of Rome. They place Caesar's body on it and set it alight. The flames leap high, consuming the remains of the man who conquered Gaul, who crossed the Rubicon, who made himself master of Rome. The conspirators, suddenly realizing that they are not heroes but hunted men, flee the city. Brutus and Cassius gather their forces and head east. Mark Antony and Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew and adopted heir, form an alliance and pursue them. 2 years later, they will meet in battle at Philippi in Greece. The conspirators will be defeated. Brutus and Cassius will commit suicide. The Republic, which they killed Caesar to save, will not be saved. Instead, it will die with them. Octavian will eventually become Rome's first emperor. Taking the name Augustus, he will rule for more than 40 years, bringing peace and prosperity to the Roman world. He will claim to have restored the Republic, but in truth, he will establish a monarchy that will last for centuries, and he will do it all in the name of his adoptive father, Julius Caesar, whom he will have declared a god. The Senate will vote to place Caesar among the divinities. Temples will be built to him. He will be worshipped as Divus Julius, the divine Julius. Caesar did not live to see himself become a god, but perhaps he would not have been surprised. He always believed he was destined for greatness, for immortality, and he achieved it, though not in the way he might have expected. Breathe deeply now. Let the story settle into your mind like sediment sinking in still water. Caesar is gone, but his influence remains, shaping the world long after his death. Let your thoughts become like the gentle flow of a river, carrying you toward rest, toward sleep, toward peace. What can we say about Julius Caesar, now that his story is told? He was brilliant, no doubt. A genius of war, able to outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight his opponents. A master of politics, able to read people, to form alliances, to manipulate public opinion. A writer of exceptional clarity and style, who ensured that his version of events would be the one that history remembered. But he was also ruthless. His conquest of Gaul killed perhaps 1 million people and enslaved 1 million more. His crossing of the Rubicon plunged Rome into civil war. that left hundreds of thousands dead. His ambition destroyed the republic that had endured for 5 centuries, replacing it with a system that would in time decay into tyranny and corruption. Was he a hero or a villain? The answer depends on who you ask, on what you value. To those who admire strength, decisiveness, and achievement, he is a hero, one of the greatest men who ever lived. To those who value democracy, humility, and peace, he is a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of concentrated power and unchecked ambition. His name became a title. The word Caesar evolved into Tsar in Russian, Kaiser in German, titles used by emperors and kings for 2,000 years. His calendar is still in use, with only minor modifications. The month of July is named for him, Julius in Latin. His writings are still read in schools. His military campaigns are still studied in war colleges. His life has been the subject of countless books, plays, and films. Shakespeare immortalized him in a play that is performed to this day. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, Mark Antony says in that play, beginning the funeral oration that turns the crowd against the conspirators. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings, Cassius says, expressing the ambition and resentment that drives the conspiracy. Et tu, Brute, Caesar supposedly says as he dies, the ultimate expression of betrayal. These lines are fiction, Shakespeare's invention, but they feel true because they capture something essential about the story, about human nature, about the eternal themes of ambition and betrayal, loyalty and jealousy, power and its consequences. Caesar's life is a reminder that individuals can change history, that one person's decisions can affect millions, that greatness and tragedy are often intertwined. He rose from modest beginnings to become the most powerful man in the world. He achieved feats that seemed impossible. He changed the course of Western civilization, and he was brought down by men he called friends, killed in an act that was meant to save the Republic, but instead destroyed it. We can draw many lessons from his life about the dangers of ambition unchecked by humility, about the importance of institutions and laws, which cannot be sustained by the virtue of individuals alone, about the complexities of leadership, which requires both strength and wisdom, both courage and restraint, about the fragility of political systems, which can be destroyed in a moment by men who believe they are saving them. But perhaps the simplest lesson is this, that life is short, that even the greatest men are mortal, that power is fleeting, that all our achievements will one day be dust. Caesar conquered much of the known world, but he died like any other man, bleeding on a marble floor, betrayed by those he trusted. All his glory, all his victories, all his ambitions came to an end in a moment of violence and confusion. And yet, his name lives on. 2,000 years later, we still speak of him, still marvel at his achievements, still debate his legacy. In that sense, he achieved the immortality he craved. He is remembered. His story is told. He has become a symbol, an archetype, a figure who transcends his own time and place to represent something universal about human ambition and human frailty. And so we come to the end of our journey through the life of Julius Caesar. We have walked with him from his birth in the Subura to his death in the Senate. We have followed him through Gaul and across the Rubicon, through civil war and dictatorship, to his final moments beneath Pompey's statue. It has been a long journey, but now it is time to rest. Let go of the story now. Let go of Caesar of Brutus, of all the players in this ancient drama. They lived and died 2,000 years ago. Their struggles are over. Their passions have cooled. Their bones have long since turned to dust. All that remains are the stories we tell about them, the lessons we draw from their lives, the echoes of their deeds in our own time. But you are here and now. You are warm, comfortable, safe. The past is past. The future is yet to come. This moment is all that exists, and in this moment you are at peace. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Simply rest. Simply breathe. Simply drift into the gentle darkness of sleep. Feel your body sinking deeper into comfort. Feel the weight of the day dissolving. All the tensions, all the worries, all the thoughts that have occupied your mind, let them go now. Let them float away like leaves on a stream, drifting downstream, disappearing around a bend. Gone. The story of Caesar is over. The story of Rome is over. The ancient world has passed away, but the peace you feel now, the calm that settles over you, that is eternal. It is always available, always present, always waiting for you to sink into it. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out slowly. Feel your heart beat, steady and strong. You are alive. You are here, and that is enough. That is everything. The marble halls of ancient Rome are quiet now. The Forum stands empty under the stars. The Tiber flows on as it has for millennia, indifferent to the rise and fall of empires, to the triumphs and tragedies of men who thought themselves immortal. The river flows, and you flow with it, gently, easily, toward the sea of sleep. Let the images fade now. Let the voices fall silent. Caesar is sleeping his eternal sleep, and you are drifting toward your own restful slumber. There is no difference, in this moment, between past and present, between history and now, between the ancient dead and the living who dream. All is one in the darkness, in the silence, in the peace. Sleep now, traveler through time. Your journey is complete. Your destination is rest. And rest is all around you, within you, welcoming you home. The legions have marched away. The Senate has adjourned. The conspirators have fled. All is quiet in the Forum. The only sound is the gentle wind, rustling through the columns, whispering secrets that no one remembers, telling stories that have no end. And you are safe in this quietness. You are held in this peace. You are home in this moment of perfect rest. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well. Dream of nothing, or dream of Rome, of marble temples and dusty roads, of legionaries marching and eagles gleaming in the sun. It does not matter. All dreams are good dreams when they lead to rest. Good night. Sleep now. The story is over. But sleep, blessed sleep, continues forever.